So those of you that know me well might know that I'm a little bit of a secret Moto Guzzi fan, but not V-twin Moto Guzzis particularly, flat single Moto Guzzis. Pre-war, Moto Guzzi were world leaders in motorcycle innovation. I don't care what anybody says, I don't care about Vincent's, I don't care about anything. Guzzi were in a completely different league. If you visit the Moto Guzzi Museum and look at what they were doing in sort of the 20s and 30s, you remember we've all seen the V8, the flat 3 superchargers. They made a V-twin this way and a V-twin that way and a V3 and they were experimenting and they were creating some phenomenal machines that were just way over and above anything that we could produce, anything anybody else in the world could produce. And so, you know, it's kind of a shame where they've ended up and what Moto Guzzi produce these days, but Guzzi really made their name with the flat single, and obviously they won world championships and won lots of races and did stuff like this with this quite simple formula. Keep all the weight low down, keep it very simple and light, and you know, effort went into sort of handling and brakes and bits like that, and these things were very reliable. So by the time you got to this sort of 1950s machine, this Airone Sport, they'd really got it nailed. And I think these are exceptional little bikes. This is the super sport bike of its day, the CBR 600RR if you like. This thing will do over 70 miles an hour with me on board. It's got really almost modern brakes and incredible handling, and the whole thing is very low. I'm way too big for it really, but I just love riding these things. And there's some really clever innovation in here too. This has got upside down forks, which, you know, people think are a modern design. Think again, Guzzi were doing it way back. Also some very clever things, like the springs run underneath the engine and the swinging arm pulls on the rear springs, so they kept all the weight low and underneath, and just very compact and in and down. You know, these are just remarkable little bikes. You can't believe how quick they are. I've been out with my dad before on his Vincent 1000 twin, which is a Black Shadow quick bike, and I've been on an Airone and he couldn't do anything about it. In fact, if it got twisty, I was faster. And only on the open roads could he inch away from me, but only at the top end really. So if you think about it, I mean, this is a quarter of the capacity and nipping at its heels. They're just wonderful little bikes. Easy to start, light, low, fast, reliable, just incredible. And from the 1950s, you know, you've just got to love Guzzi. They, you know, back to the sort of pre-war stuff, I heard a story, they had a 250 with a supercharger on, producing 50 brake horsepower. So that's 200 brake horsepower per litre pre-war. You know, we get that now with V4R Ducatis and BMWs, but they were doing it in like the 40s. And so, really crazy. Big fan of these early singles. They're just fantastic little bikes, especially these 250 Sports. There's a big difference between the Sport and the Turismo, which people don't realise. The Sport had bigger brakes, bigger carburettor, higher compression, better camshaft, and all sorts of little bits. And so a Sport is considerably faster than a Turismo. And equally, people think if they buy the 500 Falcone, this bike's big brother, that it's going to be a faster version of this, but it's not. The Falcone was actually more of a sidecar bike, it was a thumper. And I think a good 250 Airone Sport is probably faster than a 500 Falcone, just because it's so much lighter and it revs so much harder, and it's you know, it's a much more usable machine. This really is a little giant killer, and like I say, it is absolutely a super sport bike. And it just, unless you know, unless you've ridden one, you just can't believe how good these are. You know, you can't compare it to a British bike because they don't compare. You know, super special, super lovely, This particular one's an absolute belter. I've been laughing out loud as I've been riding it today, and I think the red paintwork, the chrome, the sunshine, can't help but enjoy being out on a bike like this. Just what a joyous machine, and I wanted to share it with you as usual. Again, this is a bike that we've got for sale in the shop, so you know, look at the website, you'll be able to see the details there. Yeah, hope you enjoyed sharing the bike with me.